Admit everyone. Hello, everyone. Good greetings for the day. My name is Mohammed Abu Freiha. I'm a program manager at Brinc MENA, and I'm in charge of the OQ Accelerator Program currently. We're happy to have you all have registers for the session. The session is Power the Future, Accelerating Sustainable Energy Innovation in the Middle East. And without further ado, to make it easy for everyone so we can enjoy the discussion, I'll introduce Husain Haji, our Regional Head of Corporate Innovation at Brinc MENA. Husain.
Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you very much. And it's an absolute pleasure to have everyone here. We have an exciting session ahead of us and a couple of exciting speakers in that session as well. So I'm going to leave it to them to introduce themselves, but just to put a name next to the face, we have co-founder and chief operating officer of Brinc MENA, Bashar Aboudaoud, and Muthir Al Kharusi from OQ as well as senior advisor, strategic advisor, to OQ. So I would love to act as senior advisor to the group CEO of OQ. Forgive me, I need to make sure that that's the right the position. So please, the room is yours. Muthir, you can start, and then we can jump to Bashar to give an introduction about himself.
Okay, so yes, Muthir Al Kharusi. I am currently, or just became, the senior advisor to the group CEO. Before that, I was looking after strategy and transformation, and innovation was one of the key pillars of the strategy and transformation team under the leadership of Dr. Ammar Al-Ajeli. Very excited now because we've come to a point where we want to launch our accelerator program here in Oman, our energy accelerator program. My background has mainly been oil and gas. When I joined OQ, I've then ventured into the downstream part and the innovation part as well. I've always loved technology. In fact, I had my own startup in around 2000, the year 2000. I started a tech company that provided information on fields on your website. So it was a very, very interesting start. Unfortunately, at the time, there was no tech accelerator in Oman. So the company I did the work for took all my IP, and now they're still running with it. So, Bashar.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Bashar.
Perfect. First of all, thank you everybody for joining. My name is Bashar Aboudaoud. I'm co-founder and COO of Brinc. So a little bit of history about myself. I grew up in Hong Kong and initially was the investor, first angel investor into Brinc, and my CEO and founder, Manav Gupta, had the crazy idea of setting up an accelerator at the time. And our USP then was to bring founders and build their first products in Shenzhen and in Hong Kong. So we started off as an IoT accelerator. We love to get involved in the 0 to 1, getting that first concept, building your proof of concept MVP. So our background is pre-seed, seed, and Series A investors. From there in 2017, we got venture backed. Our first VC that backed us was Artesian Venture Partners, one of the largest early stage, in a sense, VCs in Australia. And in the Middle East, we started off in Bahrain and now run programs in Saudi, Oman, UAE, and Bahrain. So super excited to have a conversation and to work with OQ. Today, we run 15 accelerators globally and accelerate thousands of startups. Energy transition and everything about climate is something we're passionate about. We've been investing in this category for 5 years, and excited to have a conversation today.
Awesome. So very, very, very humble intros that I can tell you for both of you. And I genuinely appreciate it. So mashallah, there is a lot of experience with us on the panel today. And with that being said, I would like to start this by asking Muthir a question. So right now as a senior advisor to the group CEO of OQ Oman, how would you navigate, or how are you navigating the transition from traditional energy sources to more sustainable options? Maybe if you can share a specific initiative that sort of exemplifies that shift, that would be great.
Okay, I think for us, it is a new part of our strategy. So we initiated this in the end of 2021, how we can become an energy transition enabler, not just for OQ, but for the whole country. And the easiest thing to do, of course, is to build renewable energy plants, solar and wind. Oman, luckily, is very blessed with that. The hardest thing to do, though, is to bring innovation that can drop down the cost of, say, carbon capture, or monitoring of your carbon emissions, energy efficiency, etc. So for us, it's a two-pronged approach. We want to maximize, first of all, what our renewable energy potential is in the country and proliferate it as much as possible. We are the renewable energy champion for the country. And the second part is we want to capitalize on technology, either from startups or from a bit more mature, and see how we can make use of it in the country to develop this. I can give a very simple example of innovative technology, which is virtual emissions management or measurement. And here we brought in a company for a pilot to try to measure our emissions virtually. Rather than having meters in your plant, this can actually calculate from process data or other elements what your emissions are. This pilot was very successful. We're very happy with it, and we're currently in the scale-up mode for this pilot.
Awesome. Thanks for that example. I mean, it's very refreshing to see an organization such as OQ double down on supporting startups, let's say, to be able to actually get into work with them essentially, and more or less get them into the country somehow by also working with you guys and making sure that everything is sort of interconnected to a certain level. I mean, like I said, extremely refreshing. Coming from the background of a startup founder who now works with Brinc, I wish that was available a long time ago. I would have been one of the people that sort of jumped in to see where to hopefully come in and meet you, Muthir, and talk more about this. I'll shift this to Bashar. So, from your perspective as the co-founder of Brinc, of course, Bashar, so what emerging technologies or certain business models, let's say, in the energy and the climate tech sector do you believe will have a impact or significant impact in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, let me just touch on like our general thesis. As energy investors, we look at climate tech as the energy transition because climate change is real. We have to make a dent on decarbonization. So our investment thesis in Brinc has always been to find carbon solutions. So, and we truly do believe that there's going to be several unicorns coming out of this space. It has not been, for us, we've been investing in this space now for 6 years. There's a conversation about climate risk and the rest of it. Like, the reality is there is more interest in climate tech, and the energy transition is one part of it. And the costs of climate change are real. Like, very simply, just put a simple cost for myself this year was the floods in Dubai. I went to go renew my insurance this year, and everything doubled. So for us, it's becoming more real. So the energy transition is something we are passionate about. We've been investing in for a while, and I can talk about different categories that we've been investing in. One of them is green energy solutions. So we invested in a company in Australia which is taking waste and turning it into energy through producing syngas. And from there, they're taking the syngas to produce electricity. So these are kind of solutions we get interested. We also have another company called Carbon Bridge, proprietary company that's manufacturing green methanol from methane and CO2. These are two of the biggest, bad agents in our atmosphere. And if you're able to take those two gases and turn them into green methanol, this is what we consider green energy solutions, and in general, a good investment thesis. And then obviously direct air capture is one of the largest problems that we're all facing. So we've been investing in several startups. We did an AirHive in the UK and Gaia Refinery in Costa Rica. AirHive also got an investment from Coca-Cola because they're looking to take the carbon from the air and actually put it into the gas of their drinks to offset their carbon capture from fossil fuels. So circular economy solutions, green energy solutions. And then another part, which is something that we're passionate about, we've been investing in for a while, is decarbonization can apply to many different verticals. So we think even in biotech, we invested in a company called Gali, which is essentially manufacturing cotton in the lab. They got investment by Bill Gates Ventures, 33 million funding round recently. And instead of, growing cotton in the fields, which takes X amount of water, X amount of investment, and all the rest, now you're able to take cotton and grow it in bioreactors. We've also been investing in a sense, cultivated meat on the meat side, which we think, industrial farming is quite carbon accredited. So for us, we look at these three categories, and decarbonization is the overarching theme. But for us, these three categories we're super, in a sense, excited about, because we need to find a solution to decarbonization in general. And this can mean a lot of different categories, not just energy. It's just energy consumption.
Beautiful. Of course, what better way to be able to translate that passion than to actually connect with the likes of OQ and to take it forward to a certain extent. I mean, back to you, Muthir, with a question that talks a little bit more about innovation and transformation. So let's say, if you can describe to us, let's say, a recent innovation project at OQ Oman that would address a major sustainability challenge. What were the key factors that sort of made that project successful?
Okay, I think maybe before I answer that question, just to touch on Bashar's point about growing meat.
Please, by all means.
I'm not sure I can live with grown meat. I still think I want it from the real live animal. I saw that. You can
wear the cotton. You can wear the cotton. Same technology.
The cotton is fine. I'm okay with that. It's just that I know it's also very expensive. So right now it's around $250,000 per kilogram of meat grown. Yeah.
It's come down significantly. And listen, I do understand there is hesitation.
No, I'm just joking here. No worries.
No. It's one of our biggest concerns. But I always like to pivot to Gali, which is growing cotton in the lab, same technology. But it's a lot less controversial. I get your concerns. You're not the only one.
Let's just say Muthir is heavily invested in a good steak. I would say. So taking it to the go ahead, Muthir, please. Yeah.
Yes. So
just
like
to repeat the question.
No, I think I got it. So just to answer the question, I think we talk about carbon emissions, and I think that is probably, as an oil and gas company, which we think oil will continue for a long time, to be able to be successful in our goal of being net zero by 2050, carbon capture is something that's very, very important for us. But again, we're a company, it has to be economic. So we looked at direct air capture, and that technology I still think is a bit far away, but we're looking at other means now. And one of them is coastal carbon capture. So something unique about Oman, it's got a lot of olivine, and this is a rock that naturally, when broken down through rain, goes into the ocean, and it dissolves in the ocean, and then it captures the CO2 and turns it into calcium carbonate. So it's a permanent removal of CO2. And we're looking at how we can accelerate this by maybe breaking the rock ourselves, pulverizing it into sand, and then spreading it on the ocean floor to capture this carbon. It's a very exciting project, potentially very low CO2 cost reduction, and using a natural process. So this is one of the things, I mean, at least in the energy transition, that we're looking at to try to achieve our goals.
Awesome. So that just shows the case in point that Oman is strategically placed with a lot of natural resources available for anyone to be able to leverage, so to speak, especially when it comes to this particular sector in question. I actually like that. It's very cool. So that's a very exciting project. I would love to learn more about it as we progress, for sure. So back to you, Bashar. How does Brinc, let's say, foster innovation in energy startups? So if you can share an example as well of how any of the previous accelerator programs that Brinc was involved in has helped the company overcome a significant hurdle, maybe in developing or scaling their sustainable energy solution?
Well, let's just talk about the ethos of Brinc. The reality of what Brinc or an accelerator does is essentially a network. We have great partners with OQ, and our job is to make, in a sense, the opportunities of this accelerator, other accelerators, to connect people with, OQ's looking at the energy transition seriously. And for us, our ethos is being that network, that connector. So for us, our job is to make sure we have tailored programs to do a deep dive in, because every company is different. Every single company is looking at a different solution. So we have to do a deep dive and figure out exactly what you're working on to see where we can add value within our network. And then our network is to introduce you to relevant mentors, to introduce you to potential clients. In a sense, maybe OQ will look at some of your solutions, and then to introduce you to relevant investors in your space. Each one of the founders we've worked with have different problems that they're solving, at the same time, different people that we can connect them with. So I can talk about, in a sense, our responsibility is to potentially get investment. Galley, which was the company that I told you about that was invested in by Bill Gates. They were an alumni from us from 2019. They graduated from our first accelerator in 2019, which was backed by Artesian Venture Partners, which I mentioned was one of our, has been our biggest backer globally. In 2021, they did another follow-on round, which we did a private SPV and found another investor, and Artesian invested again. And then in 2024, we invested for the third time through our AngelList syndicate. This was a $33 million funding round, but we got even our angels involved within our network. We put in about 150,000 angel round through AngelList and invested for the third time. So we support our companies post acceleration because they're usually we become shareholders in them. So we help them with fundraising strategies, promote them on socials, and at the same time support other VCs that are looking at them to build their IMs, to build their decks, and at the same time get them ready for potential ICs of other VCs. AirHive is another company that's doing direct air capture. We did a podcast with them. You know, we connected them as well. We supported them with a company called Frontier, which was it was a carbon removal contract. So they were trying to figure out how much their carbon offsets are worth, and we introduced them to a company that came in to help them value that and eventually get a contract in place. So for each one of our opportunities and companies, we have to sit there, do a deep dive in the company, and see within our network how we can support.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So I mean, I have a little bit of a degree of handholding and support, let's say, just at the beginning, but then carrying on with a degree of support for the startups that are looking to potentially grow even further. So it is from step one all the way towards the end, which is fantastic, which is great to learn. I think I'll take this opportunity now. I mean, since we have a lot of people available here, and so for those of you who just joined, I'd like to talk a little bit about the OQ Accelerator Program. So it more or less is a program that comprises of two dynamic independent paths designed to empower startups tackling critical energy challenges. These programs foster innovative, sustainable solutions that address local needs while offering a global scalability potential. So I'll talk a little bit about both paths. So the accelerator paths, it basically catapults the growth stage startups that have already developed beyond the initial MVP phase, propelling them towards market success and industry disruption, which is definitely the key for a startup looking to catapult its growth at that point. And then the pre-accelerator path, where we basically help nurturing, let's say, early stage startups and providing essential support to transform their promising ideas into viable ventures. You can think of it as somewhat of a POC program, so to speak, but with a little bit more hands-on support. Now, both paths leverage OQ's expertise and the resources to accelerate the development of this groundbreaking energy solutions, driving the transition to a more sustainable future. And then, of course, later on, I mean, this is just a very quick brief of this. Later on, you'll get a little bit more information about at the end of the session, so please hold on. And you'll receive an email as well after the session with all the details of the session recording as well. So to move to the next segment of this conversation, I want to talk a little bit more about opportunities in the Middle East. And I'll go back to you, Muthir, with this question. So given OQ Oman's position in the Middle Eastern energy market, what unique opportunities do you see for sustainable energy development in the region as a whole that might not be present elsewhere?
I think, I mean, I'll leverage on the thought that probably 40% of the energy, oil and gas, comes from the Middle East. So you have a very, very high concentration of operators, I would say, open-minded operators in the Middle East. So if you look at Saudi Aramco, you look at ADNOC, OQ, Kuwait Petroleum, Qatar Petroleum, as well, Qatar Gas. These are all companies that are looking for innovative solutions, innovative technologies, and they're also looking for ways of decarbonizing, because these are all very heavily carbon-intensive businesses. They're looking for ways to decarbonize. So Middle East overall, it's a massive market. So if you have a breakaway project or concept or product in Oman, you can scale it very quickly, just regionally. You don't even have to go very far. You don't have to go even out of the Middle East itself. So from that perspective, you've got large concentration of energy producers. You have a huge addressable market. And you also have people who are willing to test and try your product in their facilities, with their people. Again, a lot of expertise in order to achieve their goals, which is going to be compatible with your goal to decarbonize, to reduce carbon footprint, or to reduce cost of energy production, whether it's solar or wind or sustainable aviation fuel, etc., etc., etc. So I think the Middle East, if you ask me, is probably the best market to be in for this kind of technology.
I mean, it is the region with most of the energy, let's say, output on a global front. So I actually think that that's definitely a great answer when it comes to opportunities. There are many opportunities in the Middle East for the energy sector, so it's definitely the place to be.
Maybe also to touch on one thing
please.
as well, we are also probably the most profitable producers in the world. So our cost of production is very low. So our appetite for experimentation and our appetite to actually pay a bit more money to see if we can decarbonize is also a lot bigger.
So you're telling us you like to break things and you have the budgets for it.
Yes,
Awesome.
indeed.
Music to startup founders here. Now, back to Bashar. So based on the experience with startups across various regions, what advantages does the Middle East offer for energy entrepreneurs? I mean, there are any challenges that are specific to this region that startups should be prepared for or prepared to address? Again, based on your experience with the startups across the world, of course.
I think what they were saying is the reality is that the region is the largest producer, or percentage-wise one of the largest producers. But what's interesting about the region is it is transitioning. When I say by transitioning, I mean that in a positive sense, that there's political will to invest in emerging technologies, which will be your biggest ally when you're trying to come up with a fantastic new idea to do X or Y. So when I say by transitioning, the Middle East understands that fossil fuels needs to be the gateway to the next big thing that they would invest in. And they have the distribution networks, they have the clientele, they've been doing this, for a very long time. So with that political will, like you saw yesterday, I think PIF announced 10 billion investment into a green hydrogen project. And that's going to be along with Aramco. That's no small, that's not a small investment in a sense of new, potential new technology that needs to scale. So, but who's better to do it than Aramco, that already has the distribution network, already has the willingness to invest. So the Middle East to me is the biggest advantage is the political will. And then from there, you're able to take that opportunity and figure it out. But there's also issues. For me, the biggest issues is, there's only one Aramco, there's only one OQ, there's one ADNOC. So I know the pain of fundraising, because for me, I'm fundraising for the rest of my life. If it's not on a Brinc level, it's for a fund or for one of our star, companies. So we have to have a universe of people that we're emailing and talking to. So the biggest issue is that the investment, the VC ecosystem here is young compared to Asia and the US and Europe. So there's not as many established players with as much firepower as the rest of the world. So the best thing you do as a startup, what you need to do is have a localization, thought process, but at the same time, your solution has to be global, because you're going to need to fundraise from several people. So the biggest disadvantage you have in the region is the ecosystem on the venture capital side is kind of small, but it is growing, and at the same time, you do have all the largest, in a sense, oil producers that are willing to test, and they have the political will to break things, as you mentioned earlier. So that's the good and the bad mixed into one.
Awesome. I mean, I would love to add to it, but for the sake of time, let me just hold off. All right. So I'll stick with you, Bashar. So there's another question that has to do more towards the idea from idea to impact. So in your experience, let's say, what are the most critical steps an energy startup needs to take to successfully scale their innovation from, let's say, a concept to a market-ready solution?
I think the word is scale. It's as simple as that. You know, you can make a prototype, you can make a pilot plant, but when you're looking to disrupt entire energy solutions, that's a very different proposition. I'm going to quote like Elon Musk when he says, you know, building a prototype's easy, but building a factory is 100x harder. So you can build a small pilot plant, you can build your first MVP and prove that you could make, let's say with wildfire, some syngas from a little bit of waste. But when all of a sudden you're trying to displace OQ or Aramco with X amount of energy, your idea looks tiny. So that scalability is the hard part, going from that first pilot plant and then moving to make a dent on the energy requirements of the globe. And it's as large as that. It's the energy requirements of the globe. So the scalability part obviously is the tough part.
Awesome. So as is the nature with any startup founder, I would say that startup founders generally, when they jump in and approach any problem with a solution, they always think about you know, the micro level. But the reality is, like you said, it's scalability, it's the macro level, it's the client, it's the stakeholders, it's who it is that's going to benefit out of this. Muthir, any point to add on this before jumping to the next question?
No, I think, yeah, in the point of the case is that the benefit has to be clear. Because me as a customer, like I mentioned this earlier, I need to see the economic benefit. Yeah, I'm willing to try and test, but if you don't have a clear path to tell me how will this benefit me on a larger scale, then I'm not sure I'm going to be very happy about that. And looking at it, at least from the companies that we've been working with, it's our problem is a big one. It's a massive problem. You know, decarbonizing by 2050 for an industry like ours, it's massive. So our appetite, as I mentioned earlier, is very high. But also our patience goes out very quickly because we think there's a lot of solutions out there. If I don't see this progressing in the right way, then I might not be interested anymore. So I think what Bashar talked about, which is making sure you can scale up and you can demonstrate that path to scalability, is something that's very key. And having somebody support you in that. I mentioned about my startup, and I tried to scale up. I tried to go to different countries and stuff. It was really, really hard to do. But having somebody support you with that, I think, is key to achieving those goals and objectives.
That's a fantastic segue into the question I'm going to ask you. So when it comes to OQ, how would you approach collaboration with startups or smaller innovators in the energy sector? I mean, you just talked to us about Small Story. And if you can share an example, that'd be fantastic. And how of something that happened and how it made that work, of course.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we haven't yet dealt with small startups, but from our perspective, we look for a win-win. We really want to help these companies succeed because we know with their success, our success will come as well. Again, we're also looking at how we can even invest in these companies. So if we see something that's a viable product that we see a future benefit for, we are more than happy also to invest because we realize as a company that's transitioning, if we can actually solve the problem for other people in the region or in the world, that actually helps our story overall. So I'd stick to the win-win. I'd say that we're here for them to help them achieve their goals and objectives, and thereby we automatically achieve our goals and our objectives. So I think it's important that companies that come to us really lean on us, make sure that they take advantage of the expertise we have, the knowledge we have, and the support we're providing to try to achieve these goals. Yeah.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So, I mean, you did mention that unfortunately not small companies yet, but that's why this OQ Accelerator program exists. So I just wanted to bring that up there, inshallah. So, final question for you, Bashar, and then we'll move to Muthir with the last question as well, before going to closing remarks. So, what are the key? This is relevant to investment, strictly investment and growth. So let's say, what are the key criteria that investors, including corporate venture arms, typically look for when considering investments in energy and sustainability startups, based on the extensive experience that Brinc has?
there's no difference investing in energy sustainable startups versus any other startup. There's no different set of metrics, anything like that. But what you have to do is find the investors that are willing to invest in this category, because this is an asset heavy, it's like a deep tech startup. If I go to a VC that wants to do a SaaS investment and get a return on, asset light business, I'm talking to the wrong person. So what you need to do is make sure that the investors you're talking to are interested in the category, understand that it's an asset heavy investment. There will be multiple dilutions, multiple investment rounds. So you need to make sure that you're talking to the right set of investors first that get the category and want to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And then for founders, the same rules apply. Your idea, your market, unit economics, and that's it. It's the same the same categories as any other investment, but you just need to make sure that you're talking to the investors that are looking at asset heavy investments, because most of the energy transition companies are asset heavy.
So a lot of it is subject to researching the right people to talk to, so to speak. So obviously, everything else is more or less generic for everyone when it's making sure the numbers are correct and unit economics are right. So it is what it is. It's a startup venture. So
yeah.
So
they're going to look at the founders, idea, the market, and the unit economics, and then and then leave it there. But yes, making sure you're talking to the right people is half the battle.
Awesome. Right. So final question to you, Muthir, as well, before jumping to closing remarks. From the perspective, let's say, of a large energy company or corporation, what makes a startup an attractive investment or even an acquisition target? I mean, yes, it might be too early to identify, since startups weren't on your radar until very recently. But let's say, how does sustainability factor into these decisions as well?
So I think, again, we have our strategic objectives, and sustainability and energy transition is key to that. For us, it's seeing that the startup has a clear path towards whatever product they have. So if we take an example of decarbonization, they have a clear path to demonstrate to us that they can develop a product and scale it up. And Bashar talked about unit economics, to the right unit economics, so we can achieve our decarbonization objective. So we need to be able to see that. And we understand actually that you're not going to see that on the first day, but they need to be able to paint that picture about what the future would look like and how they can run these economics. Because at the end of the day, it is an economic decision for us. We're not here as a charity. We're here actually to make sure technology is developed in a way that is beneficial to us and to others. And that will drive our investment decision. That will also both in deploying the product, but also in investing in the startup itself as well.
Awesome. So, I mean, I think with that being said, I'll give you both of you a chance to give closing remarks on your front. What advice can you give any applicants, let's say, to this potential program that we're going to talk about in a bit, please? So I would say that with this session here today, I think there's a lot to look at. I think the main points that we can come out of this session with is that the region is a very, very, very interesting region for startups to be able to come into, especially within the energy sector and the climate sector as well. I mean, Brinc are here. OQ has been doing quite a lot when it comes to not just Oman, but also to create ripples across the region as well. And the fact that companies like OQ are very much interested and heavily invested well, not heavily, but just starting, but inshallah heavily at some point investing into the potential of startups, let's say, that come up with innovative solutions in the space, shows to speak that there is a lot that can be done. These are the main points that I was actually able to come out for if I put myself in the shoe of a startup founder. But please, Bashar, if there's any closing remark on your front, any advice you can give to anyone that's going through and applying to this accelerator program.
My closing remarks, just simple. As a founder to founders, it's being an entrepreneur is tough. So you just got to keep going. You're going to have a bunch of ideas that work and don't work, and a bunch of things that break and don't go perfectly, but you just got to keep going. So I encourage you to in a sense, apply. Love to hear what all these applications are about, and then from there, we're going to come back to you with in a sense, some feedback. And you just as simple as keep going. What you start with might not end up where you are. Like we started off as a hardware accelerator, and today I'm in Oman talking with OQ. I couldn't have thought about that 10 years ago. So you don't, where you start might not be where you end up, and that's okay. So that's my only small piece of advice.
Awesome, thank you, Bashar. Muthir?
Yeah, I think I heard something today that was very interesting, and it's to do with, again, we mentioned Elon Musk earlier, but it's to do with one of his companies, SpaceX, and how they had an attitude of, it's okay if we break things, it's okay if we fail, but we need to learn from those failures and breaking those things. And it's okay if rockets explode, that's fine, we expect them to do so. But we're learning as we go along. And I think my main advice is the learning advice, is making sure that you rapidly prototype your products, you rapidly learn from them and rapidly improve them to demonstrate that you're moving in the right direction. The result of that was that NASA had development to send people to space station and back, and they also contracted SpaceX to do the same. It cost NASA $8 billion per trip, while it cost SpaceX only $250 million per trip. And you can see how a startup, an innovator who's willing to learn from their mistakes and develop quickly, rapidly prototyping their products, can be much, much stronger, much better than a well-established, 50, 60-year-old or 80-year-old organization like NASA. So my advice is prototype fast, learn fast, and move fast.
Awesome. Product fast, learn fast, fail fast, and then
Yeah,
move on and learn from that failure, which is awesome. So beautiful words of wisdom from two amazing individuals that were with us on this session. And thank you for those closing remarks. They definitely should add value to a lot of to everyone here that's listening. If you're a startup founder, or even if you're just here to understand what this whole program is about. I will actually hand this over to Mohammed Abou Frikha. So please, for whoever is here, stay on the line. Mohammed will actually talk a little bit more about the accelerator program, and we'll tell you exactly in detail how to apply and the benefits of participation. So thank you very much for listening. My name is Husain Haji. Thank you, Bashar, and thank you, Muthir.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Hussein. Thank you, Muthir. Thank you, Bashar. That's a very refreshing and exciting session, honestly. Most of the questions actually coming in might be answered through this. This is just a quick brief about the OQ Accelerator, building up on this lovely conversation. I think that's why it came possible that Brinc and OQ coming together to make this, I would say, initial dent to the ecosystem over here. So the program it's targeting different applicants. So mainly you can categorize yourself as a startup, a student, innovator, entrepreneur, or even as an SME or established company. They come in many forms and shapes. They'll come in different ideas, different idea stages, different stages of the company. So that's why we managed to have two paths for the program. The program has a pre-accelerator path, which is a 3-month program for startups at the early stage or idea stage to the level of functioning MVP, and an accelerator path, which is a 6-month long program or path that is for upcoming companies, startups that have more traction to the market, paying customer, or a very advanced MVP to that stage. So moving on, I think it's better to cover some of the stuff in the Q&A, I guess. So the program have much benefits, and I see some of the questions coming in has to do with the criteria of selection. I think most of these details you'll receive in your email, either through a brochure or the link to the program itself and how to apply. You'll find that most of the answers of these questions, if not all, in the FAQs. So the benefits of the program, not just to launch your idea or from within OQ, but also to scale and have the expertise, the specialties from the subject matter experts from both industries, from startup industry and from the energy industry, given the two figures of Brinc and OQ. So you can see that there is some monetary benefits that you'll gain. But I think what's more beneficial is actually what's touched on in the session is the prototyping. So this is I think that the fast, even if the existing prototype functioning proof of concept as well, it will need to evolve at a point. So some of the questions also that were answered indirectly or directly, it's the focus areas or the areas that the program is trying to tackle. There's 8 main challenges that we're catering to, starting from digital technologies that has to do with operation and maintenance of existing energy assets and how can you improve, for example, efficiency and so on. Up to the renewable energy technologies, whether it has IP, water treatment, running energy efficiency technology, maybe it has to do with artificial intelligence, definitely polymers and chemicals and other catalysts. All of these areas and focuses are welcomed because these are the challenges the program initially is designed to address. So yeah, you can either scan the QR code to go directly to the program website or landing page, or you can just go directly to brinc.io/OQ-accelerator. You'll find a lot of answers to the questions that you might find. And I encourage everyone to apply. The deadline is under a week now. We've been open for 2 months almost now, so please feel free to apply. So, Hussein, if you have any closing remarks regarding the session, or you want me to take on the Q&A.
Sorry,
So,
my apologies. I was talking while I was on mute. So anyway,
no,
so yeah, no, but by all means, Mohammed, I think you should take the Q&A yourself. Please go ahead. Now you're talking on mute. I sent to say it's not just me. You laughed at me. That's why.
I switched screens. I didn't want to interrupt. So one of the questions directed to the panel, how can we innovate financing models to better support green tech ventures, ensuring they have financial backing for short and long term? I think if I can add to that question is there's a confusion between general sustainability and climate tech and energy sustainability. So, but in general, I don't know who who in the panel would like to take on this question, but there's a lot of need of to support the startups. So the question can come in many form or shape.
I didn't understand the question. I happily reply, but I didn't understand the question. Can you repeat it?
Yeah, so how can we innovate financing models to better support green tech ventures? So just to kickstart, other than accelerators, they would need to start at a point. So if, for example, I'm gonna guess over here, if they're applying for the accelerator phase, but the ideas they want to apply for the accelerator, but the idea is not ready, and they need to move on. How can they get other sources of finance to be ready at that point? So maybe they're looking to create a company that will help finance.
Well, if you're in the idea stage, you have to go to friends and family. That's how it works at the early stage. You have to innovate, pitch to everybody, go to different conferences. In the early days, your storytelling and your ability to convince based on an idea is what angel investors are all about. So that's even for us at Brinc, all the early investors, I was an angel investor. Manav was my friend. He pitched me the idea of an accelerator and I invested. So I believed in the vision of supporting startups and building their first prototypes in China. It was a crazy idea 10 years ago. And then we are where we are today. So at the beginning, it's your storytelling and trying to convince people that you're the right person that can actually execute on that story.
Fair enough. I think if we move, I think we can take maybe 1 or 2 more questions if the time allows. I think so. one of the questions I think directly related to the program, is the program restricted only to Omani residents, as he's from the UAE. The program is open globally, but there needs to be some sort of a upcoming business activity in Oman. Then I think I see so many questions regarding water treatment solution, and they're asking about it. So they're asking their solution is not ready yet. If they can apply to the second round, they should. Urban mobility and smart city projects, is it supported by the accelerator? I'm not sure at this point, unless it's solving one of the energy transition and sustainability challenges that we have mentioned. And this is a technical one. I think if Muthir is still with us, he can help address that. If not, then I'll
Yes, I'm
relay.
here.
Okay, perfect. So this one has to do with water from air capturing technologies establishing in the Middle East, and how it's mostly done by desalination. Is it still cheaper than water in general, and should that be a good solution to apply with for the accelerator, I guess?
I think desalination is expensive. If we can capture water cheaper, that definitely is a good solution for us. So happy to hear about the idea.
Yeah, I'll urge you to apply. Most of the questions has to do with the program itself. Yeah, the final date is October the 15th. We will see how we'll handle that from there. There's other question that has to do with fresh water and rain resources. How is, because it's not raining enough, I guess, in the region. This question is coming from Central Africa. If I'm not understanding the question quite certainly, but if I'm gonna guess it, it's water beads to create freshwater projects in Oman. I'm not a technical person to be able to assess this one, but I think if I combine some of the questions, then would be some of them are talking about water. Bashar Aboudaoud is water.
I think Hamad, it's just simple. I encourage everybody to apply and for you to put all the details in your application, and then it will be assessed by our panel, and then we can come back to you. That's as simple as that. So if you do have a water solution or any type of solution that you think this program will benefit from, we just encourage you to apply, and we will take the time to look at every application and get back to you.
Perfect. And there's one last question. I think there's so many questions that I have to go through quickly because I was busy listening to the session, but it has to do with what is the really pressing matter and how can cross countries benefit from it. So their neighboring countries probably suffering the same, but cross continental, I guess it's not. There's some synergy that can develop. Is it anything that's ready globally? Has it been seen by you, Bashar or Muthir, at all? So it's just companies doing it, not the nations themselves.
Listen, for us, climate tech solutions are global. As simple as that. If you have a solution and you find the right partners in the region that are going to invest and build it out, fantastic. But the reality is most climate tech companies are global, and that's what makes it an exciting category. So the advantages you have with OQ and the accelerator here is you have in a sense a partner that will work with you, but from there your solution should be looking at Oman as a beachhead market, but then I'm pretty sure OQ and everybody else wants you to go global. So yeah, climate tech is a global problem, and hopefully your solution is globally scalable.
Right. So I think we can close with that. If the Bashar Muthir is there, you see as OQ is operating globally, you see that makes sense that there's other technologies that can, or resources that can benefit locally and vice versa. I think can be part of the program, and that's why the program was created, but it's better probably coming from your words.
Yeah, I think I think what Bashar said was correct. It is climate tech. It's to do with decarbonization. It's to do with energy efficiency, energy generation, hydrogen, electrolyzer technology. So it's everything that will help us with the energy transition, and even water production, because electrolysis needs water. So we need to find that water somewhere. So we can develop a cheaper method to getting that water that also helps significantly.
That's great. I'm not sure if Hussein's still around. He texted me he had to run quickly for something, but I think we're good. I enjoyed the session a lot. It was really refreshing. Finally get to meet Bashar and Muthir. And there was an error with the QR code. I apologize for that. So we're going to be posting the right one right now for everyone to make sure that they can get access to the QR code or the application. So yeah.
Thank you everybody for joining as well. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Bashar.